A 60-pound Bull Terrier was returned 5 times in 2 years. 5 families, 5 fresh starts. 5 times someone looked at that white face, that black patch on his nose, those radar ears, and decided he was too much. By the time he landed at Coachella Valley Animal Services for the last time, the shelter staff had stopped putting his photo on the adoption wall. Not out of cruelty, out of heartbreak. They had watched hope leave his eyes one return at a time. His name was Boon, and this is the story of the woman who refused to walk away. Margaret Calloway was 54 years old, recently retired from 26 years of teaching 4th grade and living alone in a house that had become very quiet, very fast. Her husband had passed 18 months earlier. Her 2 sons lived out of state. She had a garden she tended every morning, a coffee routine that had not changed in 30 years, and a silence in the evenings that she had stopped trying to fill with anything at all. She wasn't looking for a dog. She was at the library, 2 blocks from the shelter, when a flyer caught her eye. A photo of a white Bull Terrier sitting in a kennel, looking directly at the camera like he was daring someone to pick him up. She went in just to look. The shelter worker, a young man named Chris, met her with the kind of honesty that comes from caring too much. "He's been returned 5 times, Chris said. First family said he was too energetic. Second said he chewed everything. Third lasted 4 days. Fourth left him tied to the door handle with a note. Fifth said he had too much personality for their lifestyle." Margaret looked at the kennel card. Returned 5 times. High energy, not recommended for seniors or first-time owners. She was both. "Can I meet him?" she asked. Chris hesitated. "He's a lot." "I taught 32 4th graders for 26 years, Margaret said. "I think I can handle 1 dog." They brought Boon out. He came through the door like a small white hurricane, spinning, bouncing, snorting, covering more ground in 30 seconds than most dogs cover in an hour. Then he stopped, looked at Margaret, tilted his head sideways so far his ear nearly touched his shoulder. She sat down on the bench and didn't say a word. Boon walked over slowly, sniffed her hand, then sat down directly on her left foot and leaned his entire 60-pound body against her leg. They stayed like that for 11 minutes. Chris said he had never seen Boon sit still for more than 45 seconds. Margaret signed the papers before she left. The first week was difficult. Boon had decided the house was his renovation project. He relocated her throw pillows to the backyard. He discovered the fringe on her living room rug was the most interesting object in the known universe. He opened the pantry and spent 20 minutes rearranging her canned goods onto the kitchen floor by some system only he understood. Margaret called her son David on day 3. "I think I made a mistake," she said. "The 60-pound kind. He just buried my reading glasses in the garden." "Mom," David said, "you kept 32 4th graders alive every year. You can do this." She didn't feel sure, but she didn't take him back. By the end of week 2, a routine had formed, Boon's routine. Every morning at 6:47 a.m., he appeared at her bedroom door and stared with the intensity of someone who had somewhere important to be. If she didn't move within 2 minutes, he sneezed, loud, once, an alarm clock with strong opinions about punctuality. After breakfast, he needed 40 minutes of movement or the afternoon would involve furniture. Margaret started walking, first to the end of the block, then around it, then 2 blocks, then 3 miles to the park and back. By the end of the first month, she was doing it every single morning, something her doctor had been suggesting for 2 years. Boon walked beside her like he had a job, head up, ears forward, checking left, then right, then back at Margaret, making sure she was still there. She started talking to him on those walks, about her husband, about the classroom, about the evenings that used to feel too long. He couldn't understand the words, but he listened like someone taking careful notes, and somehow, on those mornings, the evenings stopped feeling quite as heavy. 6 weeks in, Margaret had a hard night. She got up at 2 a.m. and went to the kitchen the way she always did when sleep wouldn't come. Boon was already there, lying in the middle of the floor, waiting. He didn't jump up or make noise, he just shifted slightly and left exactly enough space beside him. Margaret sat down on the cold tile at 2:14 a.m. and put her hand on his back. He didn't move for an hour. Some nights don't need words. Some nights just need weight, something warm and solid that says, "I'm here, you're not alone, I'm not going anywhere." Boon had been abandoned 5 times, and somehow he still showed up. From that night on, something settled between them. Boon stopped testing the pantry, Margaret stopped counting the days. He learned her rhythms, and she learned his. He knew that Tuesdays meant the neighbor's dog walked by at 4 p.m. and positioned himself at the window 11 minutes early every single week. She knew that thunderstorms required sitting together on the couch with one hand on his back until it passed. He took her left slipper every morning, not to destroy it, just to hold it. He carried it to his bed, circled twice, and fell asleep with it between his front paws. She bought 3 backup pairs. It became the funniest and most reliable part of her day. 4 months in, Margaret's son David came to visit. He walked in the front door and Boon assessed him for 4 seconds before retrieving a dish towel from the kitchen and placing it at David's feet as a welcome gift. David looked at his mother. "He does that with everyone he decides to keep," Margaret said. David sat down on the floor right there in the entryway and let Boon climb half into his lap. He looked up at his mother with an expression she hadn't seen on his face in a long time. "Mom," he said, "you seem like yourself again." She hadn't known she'd stopped. Today, Boon is 3 years old. He still sets the alarm with his 6:47 a.m. sneeze. He still holds the left slipper hostage every morning until Margaret finishes her coffee. He still walks 3 miles like a dog with somewhere important to be. The house isn't quiet anymore. And Margaret, the woman who wasn't looking for a dog, who went to the library and came home with 60 pounds of returned, rejected, too much Bull Terrier, she will tell you that the flyer on the library wall was the luckiest wrong turn she ever made. Sometimes the ones the world sends back are sent back for a reason, because the right person hadn't walked through the door yet, because they were waiting for someone patient enough to stay. If you're thinking about adopting, don't skip the ones with the long kennel cards. Don't walk past the 5-time returns. They're not broken. They're just waiting for the person who won't leave. Is this love or is this stubbornness? Would you have given Boon a 6th chance? Tell me in the comments.